Hey there, welcome to the Breakthrough Creative. I am your host, John McDavitt, and this is the place where we talk about the business of art and the art of business. My guest today is Corrado Mallia. He is a fantastic artist. He's a muralist. He works on hood liners for cars. He paints with the brush, he paints with an airbrush, and he does just superb, incredible work. And a nicer guy you will never meet. I'm so glad I got to meet him and interview him, and I'm really looking forward to introducing you to Corrado. So, before we get into the interview, would you please subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or give us a follow if you're listening on Apple Podcasts? And if you'd share with your friends, if you would share on social media, if you would share with anybody that you think could benefit from this, I really appreciate it. It helps the channel and it helps other artists. Very, very cool stuff. So here we go. Here is Corrado.
Okay, well, my name is Corrado Mallia. I am from the Toronto area. I've been painting murals now for this is my 25th year officially. That means after my first official painting job, but I've been drawing and painting all my life. I paint murals on walls, so it could be kids' rooms, restaurants, businesses, like very wide variety of things. I mostly use airbrush, but not just airbrush. And yeah, I need take any questions if you want.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here. So how did you get started? Where did it all spring from?
Okay, well, like I've always drew all my life, and like superheroes and stuff. So I drew pictures at school. But you always say, okay, what are you gonna do when you grow up? You want to, I like art. I knew I had to do something with art. I didn't really know what. And actually, to go to college, I had want to do something with art, but you think of the starving artist, right? So I took graphic design, and to be honest, I didn't even know what it really was. So I took it, and it was okay. And the second it was a 3-year course, and in the second year they said, if you just want to draw pretty pictures, you're probably in the wrong course. I'm like, I wish you would tell me that before. So, but it was fine. I learned what I liked about it. I learned design, Photoshop, typography. We didn't even use computers yet until the second year. This is in the 90s, and I did a little bit of graphic design, but it wasn't my thing, and it's not my strong point. But I've always liked murals and large paintings. In Toronto, we still have, but not as much because of digital, some world-class artists that did the huge murals on walls, like 30 feet bigger than that. So I was inspired by that, and so I started painting that. But I'll tell you about the airbrush, because I know we have a similar background with the airbrush. Yeah, same with Donald Walker. I first got my first airbrush at the age of 15. My parents got it. And the reason why I got it, I'm just remembering this, it was actually from a video game, from video game art. I was about 15, and there was I even remember the game. It was Konami was a company. They made really great cover art. And this one was a Castlevania, but I was looking at it, and like, I saw how they blended the color, and I'm thinking, how do they do, I'm only 15, right? So how do they blend in these colors, like with acrylic paint? I don't know how to do that. And I thought it was with an airbrush. Somebody told me. So my parents bought me an airbrush. It was a Pash VL. But of course, I didn't know how to use it because there was no YouTube. There was no really place to learn. I didn't even know about Airbrush magazine yet. So I was pretty frustrated. I didn't know about thinning the paint or anything. I just had the little Badger compressor. So yeah, I was frustrated by it, and I didn't touch it for about 2 or 3 years. And then I don't even know, I can't remember what made me just decide, okay, I'm going to just teach myself this. And at that point, I discovered Airbrush magazine. So then I learned a lot from that, and more self-taught. And that's that I just said, okay, I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to try to master it. And yeah, took it from there. But I didn't paint any T-shirts or anything. And not there's anything wrong with T-shirt art, because that's probably the best way to learn. I know that's how you got your start, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I didn't really do that. Yeah. What's that?
That was my college.
Yeah, well, it's very versatile, because that's where you learn so many things. But yeah, I was more like just an artist, and to me, it was like another way to do things. Murals on walls, but I didn't know about overspray. There's lots of stories I could tell you. But I'll let you talk. Sorry.
No, you're good. You know, it's so wild that you got Airbrush when you were 15, and I think there was somebody else I was speaking with who had gotten an Airbrush around that time, and I got mine. I was about 14. And I was right between eighth grade, I think, and freshman year of high school here in the States. And I played with it for a minute, and then I don't know what to do with it, just like you said. So I just put it away.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was 18 that I pulled it out again, right?
Yeah, it's about the same. Yeah, same exact for me.
And you know, for me, it symbolized freedom, I guess. Like it was a tool that was cool, and I thought, okay, this is going to get me where I want to go. And I'm just curious for you, when you were 18, what made you even think that you might be good at it? Like, because it's a tough tool. I mean, it's a really tough tool.
It is, especially like I said, especially if you don't have any ways to learn, because the Airbrush magazine is probably the thing that helped me the most. But if you don't know how to thin your paint, you're gonna get very frustrated. I don't remember if there's something specific, but like I said, the wall murals inspired me, and for some reason I got this in my head that everything had to be done with an airbrush. So that's what I did in those days, and it was good and not good, because as you know, airbrush is great for blending and a lot of things, but sometimes it's better just to use a brush. Like let's say you're painting a tree bark. If you want some texture, a brush is going to be better. But in those days, I did it with an airbrush, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. So when I look back at my earlier work, I'm like, why didn't I just pick up a paintbrush? I don't know why, but I can't remember. There was nothing specific. I can't remember what it was. Just that I loved airbrush. Like it was so cool in those days, especially right. You see airbrush working like this is like amazing. How do they do that, right? So
Yeah,
yeah, it was very unique.
yeah, and it was before computer, and it probably looked like I would say it was impactful as AI imagery is today, right?
Yeah.
It was what the airbrush was. When you know, when did it dawn on you to pick up a paintbrush to do some of the work, to blend that in, to work that with the airbrush?
Well, like I said, I mainly wanted it to blend colors better, because I had no formal lessons. I like drew in school and I took some art classes, but it was more like just drawing, life drawing stuff. And like I said, I saw that there was a Castlevania, one of the Castlevanias, and how they blended the colors, and
Yeah.
like this is how they do it. So that was I wanted, that was my primary reason, was to blend the colors. But then I fell in love with it, and I started doing murals on walls. My family's, I painted like every room in my family's house as practice. And of course, I didn't know about overspray in those days. One time I painted a beach scene in my basement. I didn't know anything about putting plastic up or anything. And by the time it was done, it looked pretty good. And then I realized there's blue dust everywhere. My mother had to clean, my grandmother was cleaning. I felt so bad, but that's how I learned, okay, put some plastic up. And there's other ways to protect from overspray that I've learned over the years. But yeah, that was, so there's good points and bad points, if right? I'm sure you know.
Oh yeah. So you had a pretty supportive family system.
Very supportive, yeah.
Yeah.
You want to know what? My dad actually, and this was I can't remember what years, in the 90s, he encouraged me to paint on the garage doors. I didn't even want to do it because I thought people think you're trying to be weird or get attention, but it was a Ferrari on one side and a Lamborghini racing down the street, and the neighbors all loved it. It was in like the local paper. I think it was even on the local news one time. My parents are the best. I wouldn't be here without them, because they encouraged me, which is sometimes rare. Sometimes parents like, oh, you can't do art for a career, because. So I was very grateful to have them.
Yeah.
I painted all the murals in my house and everything, and that's where I got my practice before I felt, okay, I think I'm good enough to start charging. So I do a lot of practice first.
Was there anything integral to your process in between practicing and then getting that first job?
Well, like I said, so I painted as many murals as I could, and I in those days there was no internet, no websites or anything. So I had a little book, an art portfolio book, photographs, and I pounded the streets. I went around to businesses, which I tried to go to ones that were opening, because it's a probably better time when they're under construction. And I'm a shy guy. I'm not good at that. I think I'm getting a little better, but especially in those days, it wasn't easy. I had to knock on doors. You get a lot of rejection, but it's also unique because people did not know that this was a thing. Like, my name is Corrado. I paint murals. I could do something for your restaurant, whatever. Show them some pictures, and mostly rejections, or sometimes people were interested. But I'll tell you, I got my first official job. I went to a movie theater, and it was for the time for Jurassic Park Part 2. And I just talked to the assistant manager. I remember her name was Tanya. And I said, this is my name. This is what I do. I paint murals. Could you use anything? And they said, actually, Jurassic Park, The Lost World 2, Universal Studios has not given us anything for it. So maybe we could use it, but I have to talk to my boss. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So what I did was that night, I'm like, let me just try something, because maybe I do something they'll like it. I went to the library, got pictures of dinosaurs, like artist pictures, because there's no dinosaur photographs. I designed something. I painted like 18 hours straight all through the night, just a 5 by 6 foot on a portable thing that I could assemble. My dad helped me do that. And then I brought it to them like 2 days later, and the manager was there. I showed it to them, and I said, they liked it. They bought it, and it was there. It was nothing special, but that was my first official paying job that wasn't family or friends. That's how I officially say I got my start.
So, you're a shy guy, you say, right? And I'm sure, we're about the same age, probably. We're both about 50, right? Somewhere in there.
Just under.
You're just behind me. Sorry, didn't mean to drag you into my 50s.
No problem.
But, a shy person, I mean, somebody who is outgoing, it's challenging to go and sell, because again, you're probably going to get rejected. You might believe that, you might not believe it, you may not know it, but you're going to experience it. What caused you to go do that? Because that's a courageous thing to do for a kid. Because how old would you say you were? Were you 18?
I would have been, in 90, so I would have been 22, 23 at that time. So I've been practicing like a few years. So I still wasn't that great, but I think I was at the point, this is decent enough. I can do it to start charging. So yeah, I was probably 22, 23 at that point. Because I don't, like, how else would you do it? I made flyers and stuff, but like, to me, it's like how my parents suggested, like, go to places. I made lists of places, like, okay, this place could probably use this, like restaurants, schools. And there was a lot of rejection. I think these days is a lot easier. People don't realize how easy it is with the internet, but it wasn't easy. But I also think it builds a lot of character and resilience, because getting rejected a lot it's hard. But then when you get that one that responds and they see it and they like it, you get good feedback. It motivates you to do more. So.
And then would you say that you honed your skills as far as what you were selling and how you would persuade a potential client?
Yeah, I was getting better. I still I still wasn't great at it. Like, I think probably my work did most of the, like, my portfolio, which is just photographs. I made a little album that did most of my selling, right? Once you get to the person that is responsible, that, okay, this is a person that is possible to buy the art or not. I try not to take any rejection personally, but yeah.
That's huge. That's a huge one, not taking rejection personally.
Yeah,
right?
it's easier said than done.
Yeah, much easier said than done. So, now you get this job. Did you have any idea? I guess you had some idea because you'd painted the murals at home, but how did you account for materials costs and your time? And I'm betting you undercharged that first job.
Big time. Yeah, of course. I undercharged because I would have had no clue. And like I said, I painted it like 18 hours. It was, and I made it on, it was on a portable, I think it folded, or so I can't remember exactly how it worked. So yeah, I think it was something like $800 something, which I guess in those days wasn't too bad. It was especially my first job, but if you consider it was like a movie theater, it's probably peanuts, but that's okay. So, Yeah, I didn't know any of that stuff, and you have to learn that stuff. And it also depends on where you are, what the market bears, your materials cost. Yeah, but yeah, you build that into the price. But when you're starting out especially in those days, like you had no clue, like how would you do it? So yeah, I think I charged $800 for it, I think. But yeah, which is not a lot, but not too bad.
So how would you say, like, these days you actually figure out your pricing?
I generally go by square foot, and then there's a range, but um, because okay, like it could be, let's say it's 100 square feet, but like half of it is like a sky with clouds, and it's so you might charge a little bit less for that. But then the say the foreground could have a lot of detail. There could be animals and stuff. So it is a range, and then also into that price you have to consider: do you have to prime it? Do you need scaffolding? Is it far? um, all those things you have to build in the price, and I include my paint in that price. I don't like to nickel and dime customers. Like I'll give them a price or a range, and that generally is the price, unless the concept changes drastically after I've designed it. That's what would affect the price once I've given it to them.
Have you had that happen before in the middle of a job where all of a sudden everything changes?
You know what? Not really. Usually, I can honestly say that my customers are all really good. And yeah, sometimes while I'm in design, there is many changes, and that can get a bit frustrating. You sometimes have to limit it. Okay, I can do this many changes, and then there has to increase in the design time. But once I start painting it, really very few changes. And also, I use a projector to lay it out. I do a line drawing, and it's an overhead projector, old school. Because the best thing about that is that I can place it exactly on the wall. The elements, let's say if I'm doing a dog or something, and I can place it exactly where it is around the furniture. Yeah, but my customers are really happy with my work, and they refer me to other people, which is like I don't do any advertising at this point.
Fantastic. That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good not to be able to have to do that. So that's cool. So usually your clients you're pretty dialed in when you do it. How about your growth on the job? So you do that Jurassic Park mural. What was the rest of your 20s like? Was it solely focused on murals, or?
So it was, but I still wasn't steady at that point. That was after, let me try to think. That was after the college I took, just after college. And after college, I did graphic design for a couple jobs here and there, and that I didn't really like. It wasn't steady. And then that was when I did the Jurassic Park and then a few other things, but it wasn't steady. It was hit or miss. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm still living at home, but like I like to buy a house and stuff. And I stopped doing the murals for a while. I got a graphic design job. It was for a muscle. It was a magazine, Muscle Mag magazine, international. So I did that, and still painting murals on the side. And while doing that, it became so busy. The murals again picked up, and I went part-time there, just 2 days a week. And then I had to leave that job, and then I've been doing murals steady, because it wasn't like I did the Jurassic Park job and then I was steady from that. It took a few years to get steady, and now I am steady, which is great. But yeah, it wasn't like no overnight success or anything like that.
Did you have to do were there other part-time jobs that you had to do just to make ends meet?
Yeah, So before that job at the magazine, I did have to do other jobs. I remember I did one job in landscaping, and I lasted 1 day, because the reason why is because it was all like a industrial, and it was very hard on my wrist. I'm like, okay, I don't mind it. I like the job, but like I'm not going to ruin my painting because of that. I had to quit that job after 1 day. The guy probably wasn't happy with me, but yeah. So I did have to take some jobs that were not art related to make it. So yeah.
Yeah, well, you got to have priorities, right? You got to eat, but then you've also got to protect you got to
Yeah.
protect the precious stuff like your fingers and your wrists and all that, right? My
Yeah.
I was in karate for a little while with my son, and you know, I'd be fighting with adults or with my son, but my son would get in there really hard, and we call my left hand the money hand.
Yeah.
Nobody was allowed to.
Oh, you're lefty. You're right. You're lefty.
I'm a lefty, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no hurt in the money hand.
Yeah. It's true. You like when you're younger, you might not think, but you have to think of that stuff because if you break I actually did break my hand one time, but it's healed fine. So yeah.
Okay. Now, are you you had mentioned the Muscle magazine? Are you a bodybuilder? Like you're pretty
No,
healthy guy.
I worked out all my life. I'm not a big guy by any means, but I was into fitness. Funny because I actually read that magazine for many years. It was a local magazine, but it was international. And then I heard that they were hiring. So my portfolio was basically my art. And the boss, Robert Kennedy, he passed away. He was a really great guy. He was from England, and he was actually an art teacher back in the day. So he liked my art, and he hired me basically on my painting skills because I didn't really have much graphic design. So yeah, and it did teach me a lot on that too, different skills related to art, but different. So
Yeah, it's wild how it feels like for me, everything that I've done in my life it hasn't been a waste.
yeah,
Like it's benefited my creative career in some manner.
yeah. I feel the same. Like even at the time, if you don't see it, everything happens for a reason, and things will teach you. Like even that one day job I did, that just taught me like, okay, like I have to earn a living, but I knew that I wanted to be involved with art, and I don't want to anything that's going to screw up my art career, like my hand or thing. It's not worth it, right?
Yeah, not at all. Hey, did you have any teachers in your history, like either through well, we would call it grade school or high school or into college? Was there anybody who really impacted you?
You know, my grade 8 teacher always wanted me to do murals, and even that time I didn't really. I was supposed to do this big Marvel mural, but I just never had the time. His name is Mr. Campbell. I always try to kind of find him online. I don't even know if he's still around, but he was the first one that told me to do mural. I would maybe he's the one who put that seed in my head. So yeah, I was very grateful to him.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, like I took art in school, and they're like always drew pictures in class. So I
Yeah.
still have my sketchbooks, but he was probably the biggest one, I think, besides my parents.
Okay. So I'm looking at your website. If you want to check out Corrado's work, you go to corradomurals.com. It's got a great website, and and you have one like line in your menu there, and it's hood liners. So it seems like to me you do a lot of murals, and then you do hood liners for cars. Would you say that those are your two big focuses?
Yeah, those are definitely my two biggest things. The hoodliners I've been doing for, I think, 15 years now. It's about half of my work is hoodliners. Those are good because I can do them in my studio. I order them from the dealership, and I ship them. Most of my customers are in the U.S., done some in Sweden, but I ship it to them, and they just swap theirs out and they replace it. And those are all. Each one is individual. Each one is unique. I won't do the same one twice. So
How did that come to be a part of what you do?
well, I'm a car guy, and I had a Corvette. I still have a Corvette, and I was on those cars. There was one lady in the U.S. Her name is Paula. I call her the grandmother of hoodliners because she was the only one doing it. And a buddy of mine had the same car like me, and he wanted me to do it. I did not know how to do it. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. So I practiced on mine first, and then his was the first one I did. And I guess people see it, and then they get it. And I've done several hundred of those. Yeah, I've done, and each one is different. Like sometimes there's a lot of meaning, like it could be sentimental meaning, or sometimes it's just a cool picture on a car. But yeah, that's about half my work now.
They're gorgeous, man. And
Thank you.
and I mean, you can get so much detail in those. I see there's a lot of freehand, but then I'm suspecting there's a little bit of stencil here and there.
No, I don't really use. I will use freehand shields or paintbrush. I like to combine I don't subscribe to those days when I used to that everything has to be airbrush. So I will block something in with a brush and then do detail or shading with an airbrush, or it's about half and half. Sometimes the airbrush is great for certain things, and sometimes just pick up a paintbrush. So yeah.
I always hated Frisket. I never figured it out. It was like too much work.
Yeah.
It would pull the paint up. There's a lot of work. It's like, I'll
Yeah.
just work bigger and go freehand.
Yes, you know what? I do things, especially on wall murals, like to avoid masking. So like like I'll block in a color with a roller or brush, like a solid color, and then I'll do detail. And that has two benefits, because one thing you're saving on the overspray, especially if you're in someone's home, you don't want overspray, especially in like a nice house. So that is one way that will save from that. And for I hate masking. It's like it's partly laziness. I don't like to mask. I will use freehand shields. I've never really used a stencil. Not there's anything wrong with it. Just I've never really used them.
Yeah. It feels to me like, I mean, there's obviously a place for it, right? But
Yeah, sure.
to me, airbrush is a tool that is fast, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to get this effect fast, and I can move fast, and I can get, what I want. And then whenever I had to stop to cut a stencil, and I guess I'm a patient artist, but I'm not patient in that manner.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
because
not
it takes
Drew,
longer to do set the stencil up than to paint it. So it's
right. I'm not Drew Blair
yeah.
patient, but I mean, God bless Drew. Like, he kills it, man. His
Incredible,
stuff is
yeah.
amazing. And I know people who've taken his course, and he does a lot of like freehand stencil too, just kind of shields and stuff that they use. But I was never, I'm not an engineer like that when I work.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. How do you do corners? I'm curious. Like, when you reach that corner, how do you manage the overspray from one side of the wall to the other?
It's hard. Yeah, I sometimes I'll hold a cardboard like a mask, and then you'll to protect, because you're going to get the overspray. And then even if you're brushing, you still get the corners are very difficult. And another thing you have to think of is how you're designing it. Like, in trompe l'oeil, where it looks good from a certain angle, so you have to pick, okay, this is the angle, so this corner is going to work best from this angle. Like, let's say it's a tree.
Yeah.
Trees are a good thing to put in the corner because it's a good way to hide the corner. But yeah, I know what you mean, because it picks up the overspray.
Right.
Yeah. So
and I like that with trompe l'oeil, because you have to pick a spot. You have to pick a perspective, right? And go, and then you've got to explain that to the client, right? It's like, hey, it's going to look real. It's going to pop. It might look a little funky if you're sitting over on this side of the room, but most people are going to be right here.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got to pick the best. Yeah. Sometimes I'll even ask them, like, is there like what's the view? Like, if like, let's say if it's a kid's room and where the kid is going to sleep or something, where it'll look best in that spot, because you're right, in a certain spot, it could be really distorted. But you have to be strategic on it. So it's not very easy.
What kind of paints do you use on your murals for indoors?
So I use all acrylic paint. So I use when I'm airbrushing, I'll use Createx or the Wicked line, but also Nova Color. I love Nova Color. It's
I just started using Nova a few years ago. It's great.
Yeah. It's a heavy, so in case you don't know, it's a artist acrylic. It's a heavy body acrylic, and it's just pigment and binder, nothing else. There's no additives. And it comes from California. I order it, and then it's not too expensive, but by the time the shipping comes, it is. But it's worth it because it's very saturated. So, and you can spray that. You just have to thin it down. It will go through an airbrush, but it's better in a small spray gun. So
yeah. So you don't have problems if you put it through an airbrush. You don't have problems with it.
I try not to, but I can do it. Like I use like a Badger, like the bigger one. I usually use a 155 Badger. That nozzle's a little fine for that. I will use the Vega. Which one is it? I can't remember. There's one that has a bigger nozzle, and that's better. But I'll use the Createx more for that, and the color is also very compatible too.
So it would almost be like a VL3, that thick needle and the big thick tip.
Yes, I don't know why I can't think of the one. It's the one with the red handle, where I think the nozzle might be 1 millimeter as opposed to their Anthemis, I think, is 0.5.
Okay.
Uh,
It's
but
interesting.
you can do it. Yeah.
I haven't thinned the Nova down yet because I've been using it for only outdoors. So I know
Yeah.
you kind of want to be a little more cautious if you're going to thin it all. But
Yeah.
then, do you put a clear over your work when you're done?
Not unless they specifically ask for it, because honestly, you really don't need it. Sometimes I will put it only
Yeah,
because
not with Nova, right? You don't need it with
yeah,
Nova. Yeah. Sorry,
yeah.
but
So yeah, you know, when you're airbrushing out sometimes, and especially different colors will give different sheens.
yeah,
You know, sometimes they'll get like, even actually you might be able to see it. This is a very old painting. This is a 2005, but you might be able to see it here. I
yeah.
don't know if you can see it. There's different
Little
sheet.
bit.
There's no clear coat on that. So the clear coat will help make it more even.
Yeah,
And I don't usually like a glossy clear, but I only do it if they ask. Like I did a pet hospital where I did actually a total of 19 individual rooms. It's where like when a dog stays to if somebody's going on vacation, it's
yeah.
a board to call it the luxury boarding suite. And they have cameras, and it just looked, it was just empty rooms, so blank. So I did individual rooms. So there I clear coated it with, I used a 2-part epoxy. It's a thick gloss because when they have big dogs trying to scratch,
Sure.
it's the best protection besides plexiglass. So in those cases, definitely cleared it there.
You roll or brush that, or do you spray it?
That is I roll it on. It's a 2-part. You mix the catalyst and the paint. You let it set, and then you roll it on. It's very strong. It smells, but it's a 2-part epoxy. Yeah, but most of the time, it actually doesn't need to be clear coated because I use only exterior paint. When I buy the Nova colors, I only buy the ones that are light fast. They give a light fast rating, and that's so I just, instead of buying 2 sets of paints, like why buy interior and exterior
Right.
when we'll do it. So.
Right, right. So how about your hood liners then? Are you using Createx auto paints for that?
Yes, yes, that, which is it's automotive grade acrylic. The heat's fine for it, so it's the same thing. Yes,
And then do you have to clear those before you send them off to your
I
clients?
do clear them in a semi-gloss auto clear or urethane. So I do. It doesn't technically need it. They will be okay without it, but I do it. It gives extra protection, so I always
Okay.
clear coat as well.
Yeah, your work has so much life to it. It moves, right? There's a lot of action going on, and yeah, it's beautiful stuff, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, so what's next for you? Like you do your murals, you do your hood liners. Is there other stuff that you're interested in?
Honestly, like I'm happy with what I'm doing, and I love my job because each one is different. So if I like in a couple of weeks I'm doing a house, and that's one job. Everyone is different. I don't get bored. Like maybe if I was doing the same exact thing all the time, then I might get bored. But everyone is always different. Even if somebody wants, okay, for example, in the hoodliners, I do a lot of Transformer ones because there's a Transformers Camaro, so they want Bumblebee. But I won't do the same. I'm not going to do the same one all the time because they don't want to have the same as someone else, and I don't want to paint it. So I
Right.
don't get bored, and I'm happy with what I'm doing. I get paid to paint on people's walls, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Now you've made me want to try hood liners.
Yeah, you should try.
They're so cool. Is there anything I haven't asked you that I should ask you?
No, I don't think I. Not that I could think of. Like I don't know if it's if some artists are starting out and they're frustrated because like uh, if they've heard people say like, oh, you can't make a living as an artist or starting out, you can do it. Like, it might not be easy, but you can do it. And I think these days there's so many more tools like websites, Instagram, even TikTok. I actually got on TikTok a year ago, and at first, if you first go on TikTok, you might think there's a lot of just teenagers dancing, which there is, but there's actually a lot of really uh, good art on there. So don't count any. This is like free advertising. It's community building. So don't knock it. It's just another tool to use. Like I think you should have these things. A website, Instagram is very important these days, I think.
Yeah, Yeah. Well, you're good on it. You're very present on it.
I'm still learning and try. I still don't really know exactly how it works. And I don't have that many followers, but it's actually, I like it. It's pretty cool because I've met a lot of really great artists on there. Very unique art too that you don't see. So
There. Do you have any other like kind of final thoughts for artists about getting into a career similar to yours, getting into murals or getting into the hoodliners? Any parting thoughts?
I do and I don't because like I feel like I've been okay 25 years. I'm still learning. I'm still making dumb mistakes, but like just don't get discouraged. If you really love this, you can do it. Well, I would say one thing: learn some business, take some business courses because you're going to need in any business, not just art. That's a very important part. It might not be the fun. For me, it's not the fun part, but it's very important to know those things, how to charge and the money aspect. That's all part of art as well, whether you like it or not. So I would say learn that. And then the art itself, like I'm still learning stuff. There's a lot of things I'm trying to perfect, and certain things I'm not I'm not happy with. But that's all part of it. I think if you're born knowing how to paint perfectly, like there'd be no journey, right? So
Yeah. I know that your friends have been your family's been close and supportive of you. Have you had friends that do you have art friends that are real supportive, or do you have just really good friends that are supportive?
all my friends are supportive, and I would say I know a lot of artists now just because they're doing it so long. And there used to be a website called Airbrush.com. And I've met a lot of like not met, but like over the years, and I still speak to them. And now it's kind of moved on to Facebook. So I know a lot of artists from that. Actually, another artist you should interview, I'm telling you, is Jody Barlow. He is I think he's in Arizona now. He's really great. And he actually sent me a job that he couldn't do because he's in the States and it was in Canada. But anyway, the point was, yeah, so I would say from online communities, I've met a lot of that. Same with Donald Walker, just through Facebook, I've seen his work. So I think online is a really great thing for artists because I don't know about you, but like you spend a lot of time on your own. So without being able to speak to other artists, you can go, it gets a bit lonely at times, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't have people around you. But then there's yeah, I would say I'm an extrovert. So I like to be around people, and I have some really, really close friends, and then I have friends. But I know there's times when I just kind of have my head down and I'm going, right. Like, that it's like
Yeah.
you gotta pound through the project and get it done.
You lose all track of time too.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks so much for being my guest. Where can people reach you? Where can they find you and your work?
Everything is under Corrado Murals. So like I have a Facebook page, Corrado Murals, my website, Instagram and TikTok are all, if you search, just do Corrado Murals, all one word, it'll all be there. I like to keep it easy for people.
Okay, and I'll have that info down below in the description for the episode. Uh, Thanks, man. Thank you for being my guest.
Thank you. Great talk to you. I love that tiger painting in the back. I'm a cat
Cheers.
lover. So.
Thank you, Corrado. You rock, man. I really, really enjoyed hearing about your career. Here's this guy, 25 years. He's been painting murals, kids' rooms, restaurants, businesses. He's always drawn, always been interested in art, always pursued it. And what I really take away from Corrado is his attitude. This dude's got a great attitude. And his attitude is really built around gratitude. He is just this pleasant, hardworking, get after it guy. I didn't hear him complaining about anybody or about any trials or challenges that he went through. He just got up each day. He put on his work boots. He got his paint together, and he went out and he saw the client. And if you are an introvert, the guy's an introvert, and he went out and did the hardest work that an introvert can do, which is look for business, introduce himself to strangers. It's just a fantastic, fantastic stuff. I love that he didn't have any formal lessons with the airbrush. He just went and did it, and it's just really, really good. Check out his work online. You can find his link in the description of the show below, and follow him wherever you find him on social media too, okay? All right, that's it for the episode this week. And I encourage you to do that next thing that you need to do. If you're shy, learn how you can go out and meet new people and break through that shyness so that you can start getting comfortable talking with clients. If you're going to talk with clients, you need to come up with a cost benefit communication with them. That's a pretty sophisticated term, but it's not as sophisticated as it sounds. Basically, how are you going to solve their problems? What do you have to offer that is going to solve somebody's problems? That's what people pay for. And as an artist, that's what you need to figure out to do with your art, okay? So get busy about the business of doing that next thing that is going to get you your next job, your next project, and help you to make a living as an artist. And I hope that you are all doing well, and I will see you next time. Cheers.